Hi, my name is Mr. Walker. I'm the Plano ISD tuba and euphonium instructor. Today we're going to do a cool exercise called expanding long tones. Before we get into that, I'd like to offer you additional resources and private lessons. If you are not already signed up, just go to www.DeMarcusWalker.com/lessons. My email address is DeMarcusW@gmail.com. Your band directors can get connected, us connected as well, and I'll try to get you signed up. All right, so regular long tones. What are regular long tones? The goal of regular long tones, before we get into this cool expanding long tones, you need to know about regular long tones. Well, I like to break it into an acronym, and that is BIT. B-I-T. The B stands for block sound. If you're not already familiar with this analogy of block sound, the thing is we can't see sound. And if we use this little imagery here, it kind of helps us find a way to clean up our sound by visualizing it, so to speak. So with that being said, a block sound would look like this. If we could see your note, it would look like a perfect block, and at the front of it you have what's called the attack, then you have the sustain in the middle, and the release at the end. So your note should go like this. Ta, clean all the way through from beginning to end. Here's an example of a bad attack. So again, the attack is the beginning of the note, the sustain is the middle, and the release is the end. Here's what a bad attack would sound like. Now, what's good about this is it still has a pretty decent sustain, and the release is not too horrible, but it's the beginning. Brass players, we are notorious for this, myself included. It happens all the time. I hate it just like you hate it. But what it does is, what you're doing is your embouchure not quite set at the beginning, and you get a bit of an explosion, and the note is not clean. I'll do it on the tuba here just so you can kind of get an idea of it. Here's the goal. Here's a good block sound. Let's start with what's right. Now here's that bad attack. Right? It might be where you hit a B flat or something when you're trying to hit the F. So in long tones, there's 3 notes per sequence, and you want every note to have this block sound. A good attack, a good sustain, and a good release. We'll go more into that in just a moment. All right, the sustain. You want your note to have a good sustain. All right, so here's an example of a bad sustain. So you take your breath. Ta, right? Your note wobbles in the middle like Tarzan. You don't want Tarzan. And Tarzan's cool, but he's not cool in band. All right, so that's when you're playing your note. Again, had a good beginning, but the middle wasn't solid. It had a good end. Now, I'm just playing the first note, guys. Long tones has 3 notes per sequence, which means there are 3 notes in each. Every time you play one note, you have these 3 things. You have attack, you have sustain, you have release. And there's going to be a little bit more. I'm adding just a minute to this, but just hold that thought. Whenever you play one note, you've got 3 things. Attack, sustain, release. But there's going to be more. See, this is why musicians are pretty, talented individuals, because we have to do so many things at one time well. All right, so that was the sustain. Let's go ahead and move over to the last one, which is release. Now, these are just examples, guys. There are some examples that I haven't even drew on the paper. I'm not going to spend all day writing all the bad ones. The main thing you want to know is the good one. Let's go back to the good one. Right? This is what you want to know. This is all you should care about and every day strive for this guy. But I'm just giving you some examples. Here's a bad release. So this happens with, some younger, immature players where, say you have a whole note or you have a tied whole note, and now I'm not talking about long tones now, I guess, but the note's supposed to be full value, and the student naturally decrescendos. Da. Right? The end of the note is just as important as the beginning. If the composer did not write decrescendo and your band director didn't tell you to decrescendo, you're not supposed to decrescendo. All right, so those are examples of block sound. So that's the B in bit. When you're doing long tones, you need to focus on your intonation. This is the one time in your practice where you can really put optimal focus on intonation. And by the way, guys, for younger players, intonation is just a fancy word for in tone or in tune, playing in tune with your metronome, getting green on your metronome. So, and here's why I say this is the one time you can focus on it, because to be honest, guys, it is difficult to read music and read a tuner at the same time. That might actually be impossible, to read music and read the tuner at the same time. So when you're doing long tones, I highly recommend, highly recommend, don't read this music when you do long tones. You don't need to read it. You guys have been doing this since 6th grade. You're in 9th and 10th grade, so and some of you may be headed to 11th grade or so, but you do not need to look at this. Do not read long tones. Focus on like a lot of times I'll close my eyes so I can just hear what my tone is like coming out, right? And then my block sound and then my intonation. I kind of gave away one of the other things we're going to talk about, tone as well. All right, so look at the tuner. You want to get green. Now, no human is perfect. So when you're doing this, you're going to probably see a little bit of red. Just as long as you have some green, that's solid. Okay. Now, if you're just totally getting a different note, say you're trying to play F and you're getting F sharp, you're that sharp. That's not solid. You got to work on that. Open up more, warm up or whatever to get that note, or pull your slide out so you can get closer to green. So, block sound, intonation. Next is tone. This is the name of the exercise is long tones, right? Expanding long tones. So tone is what you're after. All right, what we can do to get better tone is you got to open up your throat and hotter, warmer air. So this would be an example of a good tone and a block sound and intonation. All right, if you were looking at your tuner, I'm looking at my tuner. I was good. The note was green. I had good sustain, attack, release, and the tone was solid. It's possible to play a note with good block sound but bad tone. So here is a good attack, sustain, release, but I'm going to make a horrible tone. And I kind of lost intonation on that one. What I did was I closed up my throat and lessened my air. If you constrict the air, and that's going to make the tone sound, not good. So this is a common young, immature tuba player sound. Young, mature, immature euphonium player sound is where everything is constricted. Open up, warm up. That'll help you get a better sound. Again, this takes time to develop, so if you get signed up for lessons, we can elaborate more on it. You can't do it in one video. All right, so that's the first goal is when we're talking about just playing one note, not just long tones, just one thing. That's block sound, intonation, tone. That's the bit. Block sound in and of itself is 3 goals. Let me set my tuba down for this. So block sound has an attack so when you play one note, block sound is the attack you're being graded on, the sustain you're being graded on, and the release. Those are 3 things you can do well or bad. Then you also focused on how is my tone. Is my tone warm and round and pretty and beautiful and dark sounding? Then you're also worried about the intonation. So when we say this bit analogy, this bit acronym, that's 5 things. When a musician plays one, particularly a wind player, when we play one note, we're being graded on the attack of that note, the sustain, the release, which all come from block sound, those 3, then the intonation and the tone. So now that we know what we should be aiming for, bit, block sound, intonation, tone, when we play long tones regular, I'm not going to do long tones regular because you already know that, but I'm going to go now to the expanding. Some of you guys are like, Mr. Walker, I knew all that other stuff. Now you're ready for the expanding. Here we go. By the way, I got the med at 100 right now. Sometimes I can go a little faster or slower, but right now we're doing 100. And here's the expanding long tones. What it is you're like mixing long tones A and long tone C. So the interval is expanding. That's what's expanding. We're going to get wider and wider. So we're going to go F, E, F sharp, F. So you go a half step below, a half step above, and you return to F. Then the next one goes F to E flat, up to G, and then to F. So now you went a whole step below, a whole step above, and you return to F. And then you keep going all the way till you get to at least the B flat, where we normally stop on long tones. I like to go past the B flat and go all the way down to F, F to F, 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 F. I kind of scooped that last note. That was a bad attack. F, 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 F. Right? That really works. So what this expanding exercise does is it helps with your control of your embouchure and your air. It helps with your ear. It helps with range. It just helps with everything. And then if you're focused on bit, block sound, intonation, and tone, it's going to help with all of that too. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play the first one, and then I'll count you in for the next, and then I'll play the second. We're going to go all the way down to the B flat. All right, Mr. Walker first. F, E, F sharp. Your turn, and breathe, go. Now you're going down the whole steps. Breathe, go. Now here is a minor third to D. Ready, go. All right, now we're going to D flat up to A, which is a major third and a major third above. All right, now 1, 2, ready, go. Good. Now we're going to a perfect fourth below and a perfect fourth above. All right, now we're going to go to a tritone below and a tritone above. So we're going down to B and up to B. Two, breathe, go. And last but not least, we're going to a perfect fifth below and a perfect fifth above. 1, 2, breathe, go. Now, for some of the advanced players, they're like, dude, that was nothing. That was easy. All right, we'll keep going. You go to F, A, C sharp, F, and then just keep going as low as you can and as high as you can. I guarantee it's going to get tough for you, okay? All right, so again, I hope that you guys are going to be doing this exercise and now focus on this bit, block sound, attack, sustain, release, then the intonation, and then the tone. Get all that going. Your playing's going to get a lot cleaner and more solid. And what happened is this long tones work will flow over into your other music. So before long, you don't have to think about anymore the tone. You won't have to think about the intonation or think about it. You're gonna notice when you're messing up your attacks and stuff, but you don't have to think so hard about doing it. That's why you're gonna start this exercise from doing it from memory and focus. Close your eyes, focus on bit, block sound, intonation, and tone. Again, my name is Mr. Walker, Plano ISD, tuba euphonium instructor. You're not already signed up, www.DeMarcusWalker.com/lessons. I'll try to get you signed up. Talk to your band directors. They also have my information if you need it. DeMarcusW@gmail.com, DeMarcusW@gmail.com. And my number's 903-571-8862. All right, guys. Hope you're doing well. We'll talk to you later.